Chapter 9. When I was 8, things changed. I think I knew Mom was going to have a baby even before she did. She smelled different, like new soap. Her skin felt softer and warmer. She picked me up out of bed one morning, then almost let me fall back on the mattress. Whew, she said. You're getting awfully heavy, Melody. I'm going to have to start lifting weights. Her forehead had broken out in sweat. I don't think I'd gained any weight. It was Mom who was different. She sat down on the chair next to my bed for a few minutes, then suddenly ran out of the room. I heard her throwing up in the bathroom. She came back a few minutes later, looking pale. Her breath smelled like mouthwash. I must have eaten something funky, she mumbled as she got me dressed, but I think she knew even then. I bet she was scared. When Mom finally figured it out, she sat down with me to break the news. Melody, I have something wonderful to tell you. I did my best to look curious. You're going to have a baby brother or sister real soon. I grinned and did my best imitation of surprise and excitement. I reached out and hugged her, then I patted her stomach and pointed to myself. She knew what I meant. She looked me right in the eye. We're going to pray that this little one is fat and fine and healthy, she told me. You know we love you, Melody, just as you are, but we're hoping this child doesn't have to face the challenges that you do. Me too. From then on, she put Dad in charge of lifting me, and although she never talked about it again in front of me, I knew she was worried. She gobbled gigantic green vitamin pills, ate lots of fresh oranges and apples, and she had this habit of touching her bulging belly and mumbling a prayer. I can tell that Dad was scared too, but his worry showed up in funny little ways, like bringing Mom piles of purple irises, her favorite flower, or fixing her gallons of grape Kool-Aid, or big plates of grapes. I don't know what made Mom crave purple stuff. Instead of watching hours and hours of the Discovery Channel, I found myself in my room staring at an empty TV screen, just thinking in the silence. I knew that a new baby was really time consuming, and I also knew I took up a lot of time. How would my parents ever have time for both of us? Then a really horrible thought popped into my head. What if they decided to look into Dr. Hughley's suggestions? I couldn't make that thought go away. One Saturday afternoon, a few months before the baby was born, I was curled up on our sofa dozing. Mom had put pillows around me to make sure I didn't fall off. Butterscotch slept nearby, and Dad's favorite jazz station played a saxophone snoozer. Mom and Dad sat together on the smaller sofa, talking together quietly. I'm sure they thought I was asleep. What if, Mom said, her voice tight. It won't be. The chances are so small, honey, Dad replied, but he sounded unsure. I couldn't bear it, Mom told him. But you'd find the strength, he said calmly. But it's not going to happen. The odds are. But what if? She insisted, interrupting him, and for only the second time I could remember, my mother started to cry. Everything is going to be fine, my father said, trying to soothe her. We've got to think positive thoughts. It's all because of me, my mother said softly. I perked up and listened harder. What do you mean, Dad asked. It's my fault that Melody is like she is. Mom was crying really hard then. I could hardly make out her words. Diane, that's crazy. You can't hold on to that kind of guilt. These things just happen. I could tell Dad was trying to be reasonable. No, I'm the mother, she wailed. It was my job to bring a child into this world safely, and I screwed it up. Every other woman on the planet is able to give birth to a normal baby. There must be something wrong with me. Sweetheart, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And I could hear him pull my mom to him. But Chuck, I'm so scared this baby is going to be messed up too, she said in a shuddering breath. Please don't go there. Don't even think like that, Dad murmured. Statistically, what are the chances? Two children who... And I suddenly couldn't hear him anymore because my head was pulsing with things I wanted to say but couldn't. I wanted to tell Mom that I'm sorry she was so sad and so scared, that it wasn't her fault, that I was just the way I was and she had nothing to do with it. The part that hurt the most is I couldn't tell her any of it. During Mom's entire pregnancy, however, my parents' attention to me never wavered, even though, yeah, I worried that it would. Dad did lots more as Mom got closer to her due date. He did some of the laundry, most of the cooking, and all of the lifting and carrying. I got to school on time every day, got my stories read to me every night, and the three of us waited and hoped and prayed. But Penny was born perfect and copper bright, just like her name. From the minute she came home from the hospital, she was a really happy baby. Mom truly did carry a little bundle of joy into the house. But I guess a new baby is rough on any parents, especially if they already had a kid like me at home. Sometimes there would be arguments. I could hear them through the bedroom wall. I need more help around here, Chuck, Mom would say, trying to keep her voice low. Well, you pay more attention to the baby than you do to me. If you'd help more, I'd have more time for you. With 2 kids and one of them Melody, it's not easy. I have to go to work, you know. I have a job too, don't throw that in my face. Plus, I'm up twice a night to nurse the baby. I know, I know. I'm sorry, Diane. Dad always softened and let Mom win. It's just, I'm so tired all the time, Mom would say, her voice muffled. I'm sorry, I'll do better, I promise. I'll take off work tomorrow and take care of both girls. Why don't you go catch a movie or take Mrs. Valencia out to lunch? It would get quiet once more, but even so, somehow, I always ended up feeling a tiny bit guilty. Life sure would be easier if they only had one child, one with working parts. I once got one of those electric dolls for Christmas. It was supposed to talk and cry and move its arms and legs if you pushed the right buttons, but when we opened the box, one of the arms had come off, and all the doll did, no matter which button you pushed, was squeak. Mom took it back to the store and got her money back. I wondered if she ever wished she could get a refund for me. But Penny really was a perfect baby. After just a few months, she was sleeping through the night and smiling through each day. She sat up exactly when infants are supposed to, rolled over right on schedule, and crawled on cue. Amazing. And it seemed so easy. Sure, she fell on her face a few times, but once she got it, she was off. Penny zoomed around like a little wind-up toy. She learned that the toilet was fun to splash in and that lamps will fall if you grab the cord. She learned that golden retrievers are not ponies, that peas taste funny, dead flies on the floor are a no-no, but candy is really good. She laughed all the time. She learned her sister Melody couldn't do what she could do, but she didn't seem to care, so I tried not to care either. Dad and his camcorder followed Penny around like paparazzi followed a rock star. We have hundreds of hours of footage of Penny being cute and doing adorable things, and well, I admit, sometimes I got kinda sick of watching a new video every time she learned something new. It sorta sucks to watch a baby do what you wish you could do. Penny holding her own bottle, Penny feeding herself teeny tiny Cheerios from her high chair tray, Penny saying mama and dada just like babies on Sesame Street, Penny crawling on the floor and chasing butterscotch, Penny clapping her hands. How did her little brain know how to tell her to pull herself up to a standing position, to hold herself on the slope of her balance? How did she know how to stand on her own? Sometimes she'd fall over, but then she'd pop right back up. Never ever did she lie there, stuck like a turtle on its shell. Dad did our nighttime reading, but now it was Penny who snuggled on his lap. I was too big and too hard to balance, so I sat in my wheelchair, my dog at my feet, and as the two of them read the stories I knew by heart, Butterscotch still slept only in my room. I liked that. It really did make me glad to know Penny was learning the same books I loved so much. I wondered if she was memorizing them. Probably not. She didn't need to. I think Penny's third word was Dee Dee. She couldn't quite say melody, but she got the last part. I loved it when Mom put Penny in bed with me after her morning bath. She'd grab me and plant wet, baby powdered smelling kisses all over my face. Dee Dee, she'd say again and again. By the time she was 1 year old, Penny could walk. She wobbled all over the house on her fat little legs. She fell a lot, dropping down on her butt and laughing every time she did. Then she'd get back up and try it again. That was something I'd never get to try. With 2 kids in the house, our family routines changed. It took twice as long to get everybody ready each morning. Mom made sure Penny was dressed in pretty little outfits every day, even though she was just going next door to Mrs. V's house. My clothes were okay, but I was noticing that lately they were more useful than cute. Mom seemed to be choosing them by how easy they'd be to get on me. It was kind of a bummer, but I knew I was getting heavier and heavier to lift, and so changing me was harder. I probably should mention that feeding me is a real process. I can't chew very well, so I mostly get soft foods like scrambled eggs or oatmeal or applesauce. Since I can't hold a fork or a spoon, I try, but I keep dropping them. Someone has to place the food in my mouth, one spoonful at a time. It's slow. Spoon, slurp, swallow. Spoon, slurp, swallow. Lots of food falls on the floor. Butterscotch likes that. She's like a canine vacuum cleaner. Drinking stuff is hard for me too. I can't hold a glass and I can't sip from a straw, so somebody has to very carefully hold a cup to my lips and tip a little bit of liquid into my mouth so I can swallow. Too much and I can choke and cough, and we have to start all over. It takes a long time to get a meal in me. I hate the whole process, obviously. And some mornings were really stressful. Chuck, can you bring me Melody's pink t-shirt from the clean clothes basket? She spilled juice all over her shirt, Mom yelled up the stairs. Didn't you put a bib on her, Diane? Dad yelled back. You know she makes a mess. Why don't you wait and dress her after she eats? So you want me to feed her naked? Just bring me the shirt, Mom snapped. And a diaper for Penny. She's got a stinker. She's 2. Isn't she old enough to be potty trained? Dad asked, coming down the stairs with the blue t-shirt I had outgrown in one hand and a diaper in the other. Right, I'll get to potty training tonight, on the 25th hour of my day. Dad picked Penny up. Uh-oh, that's a bad one, he said, nose scrunched up. Did you give her sweet potatoes again last night? I thought we stopped giving her those because they always give her the runs. Well, if you had gone to the grocery store like I asked, I could have given her something different, and that shirt is blue, not pink, and too small for Melody. Mom stormed out of the kitchen and upstairs. Sorry, girls, Dad said to us. He whistled softly while he cleaned Penny up, threatening to call the hazmat team. That was funny. Then he finished feeding me breakfast, not caring that my oatmeal was getting all over the juice-stained shirt. Why not? May as well make a real mess and make it all worth the stress, he said with a laugh. I smiled at him and smeared the oatmeal on my tray. Mom came back down with fresh makeup and a freshly painted smile on, her hair done, and with my pink shirt. She and Dad hugged in the kitchen, both took a deep breath, and we actually made it out of the house on time. We had lots of days like that. Chapter 10. Penny wakes every morning asking for her doodle, a soft brown stuffed animal that might be a monkey or maybe a squirrel. It's so beat up, nobody knows for sure what it really is. She drags it everywhere. Doodle, she cries if it's been caught in her blankets. Doodle, she cries if it's right next to her. Of course, it sounds more like doo-doo when she says it. That makes Dad crack up. I smile when I hear footsteps outside my door, big ones and little tiny ones. My mom and Penny, and Doodle, of course. Sometimes my legs and arms are stiff from being in the same position all night, and sometimes my toes tingle. My bedroom door opens. Dad never gets around to fixing that squeak. Mom traces her finger along my cheek. Maybe she's checking to see if I'm still breathing. I am. I open my eyes. I wish I could say good morning, but I just grin instead. She pulls me up and hugs me, rarely stopping to sit in the rocking chair anymore, and rushes me to the bathroom because I usually have to go really bad first thing in the morning. Penny trails behind us, wearing a huge red and white hat like the one in the Cat in the Hat. The girl has a major hat obsession, and always with her doodle. Butterscotch is never far from her. She lets Penny put hats on hers and somehow endures Penny's hugs, which can sometimes feel more like chokeholds. I've gotten a few. She barks to alert Mom or Dad if Penny gets too close to an electric plug or the front door. Our bathroom is painted ocean blue and is large enough for Penny, Butterscotch, me, and Mom, and my chair, without feeling crowded. That's a good thing, because we spend lots of time in there. Penny and I make pretty big messes, but at least I don't have to wear diapers. It's bad enough that someone has put me on the toilet, but diapers? Yuck. Even though the doctor said it would be impossible, by the time I was 3, Mom had me potty trained like any other kid my age. I hated sitting in dirty diapers, and she hated changing them, so I figured out a way to let her know I had to go, and she'd hustle me to the toilet. Mom and I can sometimes talk without words. I'd point to the ceiling, and she would somehow just know whether I'm talking about the ceiling fan, the moon, or the dark spot where the rain leaked through during the last thunderstorm. She could tell if I'm sad. She can sense when I need a hug. She rubs my back and makes me relax when I'm tense and upset. She tells dirty jokes sometimes when Dad isn't listening, and we both crack up. One morning as she was getting me dressed for school, I pointed to her stomach, then covered my eyes as if the sight were too much to look at. It was shortly after Penny had been born, and she still had a good-sized baby bulge. You calling me fat? She asked, acting insulted. I laughed a little and said, ugh, which is the closest thing I've got to a yes. Take it back, she said, tickling the bottom of my feet. Instead, I held my arms out like I was making a big circle and laughed out loud. Huge, enormous, like an elephant. I can tell she knew what I was thinking. We both rolled with laughter, and then she hugged me tight. I wish I could tell her I loved her. Mom knows when I'm hungry or thirsty, and whether I need a glass of milk or just some water. She could tell if I'm really sick or simply faking it, because sometimes I do pretend I don't feel good, just so I can stay at home. She could tell what my temperature is just by feeling my forehead. She only uses the thermometer to prove that she's right. I can tell stuff about what she's thinking too. By the end of the day, after she's been at the hospital all day, then fixed dinner, then bathed Penny and me and put me in bed, I can tell she's kind of reached her max. She breathes hard. Her forehead is sweating. I sometimes reach out and touch her hand with mine. I can feel her calm down, and she'll trace her fingers along my cheek, just like she does in the morning, and give me a kiss goodnight. Every Saturday morning after I've been fed, Mom reads the newspaper while she has her coffee, and Penny smashes bananas on her high chair tray. Butterscotch doesn't like fruit, but she stays close by, just in case somebody drops a piece of bacon. Mom's off on the weekends, so she relaxes. She sometimes reads articles to me or tells me about the latest hurricane or uprising or explosion in the world. More fighting in the Middle East, she says. I saw it on TV. Bombs and tears and faces of fear. There's a new Spider-Man movie coming out soon, she reads and shakes the newspaper flat. Maybe we can go to a matinee. I love superheroes. I guess Spider-Man is my favorite because he can fly. How great would that be? Mom reads me the comic pages also. I like Garfield. Garfield is cheating on his diet again, Mom said. He ate John's lasagna and Odie's meatballs. I laugh and point at Mom's hips. You call me fat again, Miss Dee just because I finished your spaghetti last night? I grin. You'll be sorry when I start feeding everybody lettuce for lunch. We both laugh. Mom's not even close to being fat, but I like to tease her. For my 10th birthday, I got a whole book of Garfield cartoons. Now that's what's up. I made Dad read it to me over and over. Garfield is a cat who has a lot to say, but all his words are written in little circles above his head. He can't really talk, of course. He's a cat. But sometimes that's how I feel. Like, wouldn't it be cool if somebody had to write the words over my head so people knew what I was thinking? I could live with that. Large floating bubbles above me, speaking for me. Wouldn't it be cool if somebody could invent bubble talking machines before fifth grade starts in a couple of weeks? Ha! When I try to talk, the words are exploding in my brain, but all that comes out are meaningless sounds and squeaks. Penny can say lots of words and pieces of words, but my lips won't come together or to make even simple sounds like that. So most of my noises are vowels. I can say and ah pretty clearly, but if I concentrate sometimes I can squeeze out a b or a h, but that's it. My parents can usually figure out what I need just by listening carefully. To outsiders, I probably sound like one of those children who was raised by wolves. My communication board, even with everything Mrs. V had added to it, well, it sort of sucks. For example, one afternoon earlier this summer, I had a taste for a Big Mac and a shake. Vanilla. I love fast food. Mom wasn't home, and getting my father to figure out what I want to eat is sometimes a big job. I pointed to the picture of my dad, the word go, the word eat, and a happy face. That's all I could work with. I gotta give him credit, he tried. He asked me a million questions, so I can point to yes or no. Are you hungry? Yes. Okay, I'll fix you some tuna salad. No. I pounded on the tray. Thought you said you were hungry. Do you want some spaghetti? No. Gentler this time. So what do you want? No answer. Nothing on my board could describe it, so I pointed to go again. You want me to go to the kitchen and cook you something? No. You want me to go to the grocery store? No. I was starting to get upset, pounding the board with my right thumb once more. I don't get it. You said you wanted me to get you something to eat. Yes. Once again I pointed to Dad's picture, then go, then eat, then happy face. I could feel one of my tornado explosions starting. I started to kick, my arms got all tight. It was driving me crazy that I couldn't tell him about a stupid Big Mac. Calm down, sweetheart, Dad said softly. My jaws felt like steel bars. I knew I was breathing hard, and my tongue wouldn't stay in my mouth. I hit my board once more, aiming at no word in particular. Ah! I screeched. I'm sorry, Melody, but I can't figure out what you mean. I'm going to fix you some noodles and cheese. Will that be okay? I sighed and gave up and pointed to yes. I calmed down while he cooked. The noodles were pretty good. A couple of weeks later, my dad and I were in the car and we passed McDonald's. I screeched and kicked and pointed like Godzilla was coming down the street. Dad must have thought I was nuts. Finally, he said, Would you like to stop to get a Big Mac and a shake for dinner tonight as a treat? I shouted, ugh, as loud as I could and kept on kicking with absolute delight as he pulled into the drive-thru. He never did make a connection between that fast food stop and my request a couple weeks earlier, but that's okay. Even though it took us an hour to finish, it was one of the best hamburgers I've ever had.